So let's move over to the mixer. So Richard suggested that we mix up ScrewDriver. ScrewDriver is a mixer on all the flavors. Now, I'm not sure how many recipes he has, but he's got 4 pages full of recipes, that you can mix up. He's pretty active. I think his last recipe that he's put online on all the flavors was in February, right, Richard?
Yep, February.
Okay, so I've looked at a couple of them. Some of the ones that I could mix up was screwed fruit base, milkman pudding, screwed strawberry creamio, and monkazi. There was just 1 or 2 flavors that I had a first rule on and couldn't mix them up, but I definitely had everything for the screwed fruit base, so I mixed that up. Richard, which ones did you mix up?
I also did the screwed fruit base, and I did the milkman pudding.
Okay. Do you want to kick off with the fruit base?
Yeah, let's do that one. This actually is quite similar to the milkman pudding. It's got 3 common ingredients, which is FA cream fresh, FA meringue, and CAP vanilla bean ice cream. To that, it adds CAP super sweet TFA strawberry ripe at a very low percentage. And that gives us a sort of creamy, sweet fruit base, where the strawberry ripe, really at 1.5%, you're not going to get strong strawberry flavor from it. So it's just a mildly sweetened, creamy fruit base. You've got the cream fresh and the Vibic in there, creating that cream base, bit of meringue to sweeten it up, and add some sugar, some super sweet to do the same, and some strawberry ripe to do the same again. My feeling on this, it's quite a crowded market. Cream templates and cream stones for fruit mixes, there are quite a number of them on the market, but this is quite a good one. I get a very good, rich, dairy, creamy base from it, and I think the CAP Vibic plays a role there. It's not as eggy and buttery and rich as the TFA version. So it tends more towards a dairy base. I'm getting the slightest hint of strawberry ripe in there, but it's really not enough that's going to register. It's adding more just the maltol sweetness in there and the brightness in there. And I think that as a base, this will sit quite comfortably underneath any sort of bright fruit that you want to pop on top of it, whether that be another berry or an orange or whatever. I think this will make quite a good smoothie / shake sort of base. As I say, it's quite a crowded market. A lot of the other shake bases that I've found use things like CAP New York cheesecake or TFA cheesecake graham crust to thicken out that body somewhat. This is a thinner body for me. It's quite a dairy forward body, so it's more just like a flavored milk. But I suppose you could add the cheesecake or other thickeners if you like it. But as a starting point for a fruit dairy mix, this is pretty decent for me. What did you think of it?
Yeah, exactly the same here. So FA meringue and FA cream fresh and vanilla bean ice cream. I haven't tried those 2 with CAP vanilla bean ice cream, so I was very interested to see how those 3 go together. And what a beautiful base. It's like you said, it's not super rich. I think that was done on purpose. So this is a base, and you can, if you want, you can make this base richer, like you said, by adding some New York cheesecake to it. I did the base. The only thing in the recipe that, you also pointed it out, that was a little bit strange for me was the strawberry ripe. I mean, we know there's fading issues with it. So if you leave this for a week, you're not even going to get a hint of that strawberry in there. So, that iconic, those three, so meringue, fresh cream, and CAP vanilla bean ice cream is a beautiful base. I don't even think you need the strawberry there. What I did is I took the double mango from Cloudburst Effects, CBE, because I've only been mixing it up, with sweeteners and with WS23 to get like a cool ripe mango. So I wanted something to see how it plays in a base, and it blends nicely. You don't get that separation, mango as a fruit, does have a creaminess to it. It's a lot more creamier than, some of the berries or citrus fruits out there. So, that CBE mango blends nicely with it. And I'm quite happy with this base. I think, as ScrewDriver also says on All the Flavor, he says DIY doesn't have to be difficult. Now, this is great, that he did this, because I think, even as a DIYer, a lot of questions for when new DIYers come onto the scene is, I just want a nice creamy base and I just want to add fruits to it. What can I mix? So you can take this base, you can mix up, 100 mils of this, for instance, let it cure or let it steep, and then, just mix in your fruit, and, take a little bit of that, pour it into another container, mix in a fruit. So you can pre-steep this and, use it on the go. So it's really, it's got a lot of applications that you can use it for. I was rather impressed with this. I think it's a great little banger, for creamy base.
What I like about it as well is it's not very forward. It's going to take a top note. Well, you're not going to get over flavoring, and you're not going to have the base fighting with the top note and so on. He's dialed it back very nicely to base levels in this mix. And then the other thing about it, my CAP vanilla bean ice cream is quite low, because it's not my favorite VBIC. I mean, I'm a big fan of TFA.
Same.
And I was thinking of not restocking it when it's done, but now that I've tasted both his mixes with CAP VBIC, it's kind of reawakened my interest in that flavor, and I think I'll be restocking it again. It does give you a very different vibe from what TFA does. Much more of a dairy vibe, a thinner vibe, not quite as rich and eggy and buttery, and that certainly has application. And this base highlights that.
Yeah, absolutely. My first vanilla bean ice cream that I bought was TFA. I finished 50 mils of that because I used to vape a lot of creamy vape, strawberry creams. And then, I had to replace it. And a lot of people were talking about CAP vanilla bean ice cream as being more of a, like a dairy food, like a gelato almost. And, that sparked my interest and I got it. I started using it by just replacing it in my recipes where I had TFA vanilla bean ice cream, and it didn't play that nicely in those mixes. So, I've got about 30 mils in a bottle, and now that I've seen how nicely it plays with fresh cream and meringue, I can think of 1,000 ways to apply this and use up that whole bottle.
Yeah, it has very specific applications, but where it's used well, it works really well.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And the Milkman pudding?
Right. The second one I mixed up was his Milkman pudding, which is quite similar. Let me just load it up here. Okay, that uses once again cream fresh, once again FA meringue, once again CAP VBIC. He tempers the CAP Hibiscus with some Hanks and French vanilla ice cream. Once again, CAP super sweet just for sweetening. And the big addition here is FA custard at 4.5%. I'm always a little bit nervous when I see FA custard because there's a danger that that citrus note's going to come through, but it doesn't come through in this. What this is, it's a very bland, very milky, very dairy, but thick milk pudding, and that comes from the FA custard thickening up the various milk ingredients as he had in the base. And it's an interesting thing for me because we talked about this last week when we were discussing the cloud brew juices, about when a simple profile is enough and when it's not enough. I mean, if you've got like that cloud brew cheesecake where it's just like a spoonful of cheesecake filling, is that enough, or do you want a crust and a fruit on top of that? And that was the thing that intrigued me about this. Okay, fair enough, it's a remix of a commercial juice. But again, for me, the question is a thick pudding with just a milk flavor, is that enough to hold my interest, or do I want to put a berry in here? Do I want to put nuts in here? Is there some other fruit that I want to add in? And in this case, for me, this actually works. It's not a very intriguing mix. It's a plain milk pudding. It's like eating spoonfuls of, quite bland, quite thick, gelatinous pudding. I wouldn't use this as an all-day vape. I don't think it holds enough interest for me. I'd put at least something else with it, a cinnamon or a nut or strawberry or something like that. But the way that I vape is, I vape one flavor for 15 minutes, then I switch across to another, then a third, then a fourth. So throughout the course of the day, I'm vaping 8-9 flavors. And this fits really well into that rotation because it's so unassuming. It's just a very plain flavor, and it gives me a break from some of the more prominent, some of the more tart, some of the richer juices that I try. So it's a nice rest for the palate. Very pleasing flavor. There's no off notes about it. There's nothing off about it. It's true to the profile. It's a milk pudding. So I enjoy this. I think it hits the spot, and it's certainly something that I would mix again.
Nice. Yeah, because I see here again, cream fraiche, meringue, of course, FA, cream fraiche, meringue, FA, and CAP vanilla bean ice cream. So, and 0.5% super sweet. So it's a lot, exactly the same base almost. And then he just put in FA custard and French vanilla ice cream, to thicken it up a little bit. And voila.
That custard makes a big difference. Mm. It's huge. But fortunately, none of the lemon notes come. I mean, not that I get very prominent lemon from FA custard anyway, but I do get it slightly, but not in this mix. It seems to kind of steep out, which is good.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a very nice milky texture to it. It's that cream fraiche and Hibiscus mixture again. Works really well.
Yeah. So, what this says is, if you are not with that base with cream fraiche, meringue, and vanilla bean ice cream, if you're not using a top note that's right at the top, it's probably not going to come through that well. Certainly with this CBE mango that I mixed into that base, I can taste just a small portion of that CBE mango that sits at the top. CBE mango it's one fruit, but it's a deep profile. There's there's creaminess. Then the mango goes into a ripe, very kind of like perfumey fragrance. So it's a very deep mango, and I only get that very top portion of the mango in this mix. So when you use it, of course, you need to use something that's right at the top in the space. Otherwise, it's going to get muted, like FA custard's lemon notes. Cool. So let's jump to concentrates. Richard, you listed hibiscus as something that you just wanted to chat about this week.
Yeah, this is an interesting concentrate. This is a Capella Hibiscus, which the floral guys, Capel and Concrete River and others like that, have said is one of the gateway flavors into florals. You know, they list Capella Hibiscus and TFA Honeysuckle as being probably the two easiest entries into the world of floral flavors. Now, I'm not a floral fan at all. I mean, I don't think I will ever make a lavender or violet or geranium or whatever juice. But CAP Hibiscus is used in a couple of pretty highly rated recipes. I mean, we've got Shindo's the Pink. We've got ML Nikon's Lime Slush. We've got Concrete River's the Colada Affair. We've got Capel's Secura Sweets. So it has been used quite extensively by people who are pretty skillful with using florals, and they will tell you that it's quite an easy way to get into florals. So I bought it on that basis, mixing up some of these more popular and more mainstream floral mixes. And my first thing was to give it a single flavor test. And it's a very strange flavor, and I say that as someone who isn't into florals, so it would be strange. What I get from it is a flat and syrupy mixture that's, it comes across as, to me, overripe honeydew melon with a red apple skin laid over it. You get that sort of apple peel note with quite a ripe melon, like a honeydew melon note underneath it. It's quite syrupy, it's quite sweet, but it's very flat. It's quite a linear flavor. It doesn't have layers to it. You know, there isn't that depth that you get, like you were saying, in the CBE mango. Where this would work well, I think, is just as a base for other tropical fruits. You know, if you're going to have passion fruit / granadilla, if you're going to have mangoes, if you're going to have, pineapple mixes, this would probably sit quite well. It doesn't have aggressive floral notes attached to it. I don't get any of that perfumey nonsense that I get with some of the other florals. So it is quite accessible to mainstream vaping. At the same time, this isn't going to be a top note on its own. It's pretty much like that base. You've got to put it in where it'll bolster and sit in the base and serve as a base for, other tropical fruits that you throw on top of it. So it'll probably make them a bit better. It'll give them a bit more of a tropical vibe to them. I would also be quite careful about using this with things like Cap Sweet Mango, which is a very ripe flavor anyway. I think this will probably push it over the edge. But I think if you go for a lighter floral, something like TFA Cherry Blossom, which is what Shindo used this with in pink, I think it will have application. It's not, I'll be quite honest, I won't finish this tester. It's not that great a standalone flavor for me, and I certainly wouldn't mix it up as a standalone. But just to have it as an almost imperceptible note in a base, I think it'll have its uses. So I'll mix up things like Secura Sweets, and I've already mixed up Concrete's Colada Affair, which uses it. So I'll just evaluate how it works in the base. But I think, if you're going to get a floral, this is probably one of the better ones to start with. Don't go all out and get FA Lavender or something like that. CAP Hibiscus is probably the most mainstream of the florals that you will find.
The gateway floral.
The gateway floral, yeah. Gateway into florals.
Oh man, that's great. So yeah, if you're going to apply it to tropical fruit, use it wisely, where you're not trying to, or if the if the tropical already has a ripeness to it, then don't use this because this might send it over the edge. But if you're gonna make a fruity medley, this could kind of help it out.
What this does as well, it adds a bit of body,
Mm.
which is a problem in tropicals. You look at things like cherry blossom, anywhere cherry and stuff like that. They don't have a great deal of body. This does give you a little bit of that syrupy. It just gives you a texture and a body for your brighter top notes just to cling onto and give a bit of substance to the vape. So
Nice.
in that sense, I think it'll be useful.
Okay, brilliant. Anything else, Richard?
No, that's it for me.
That pretty much wraps up the show, guys. Remember to leave your comments on what we have discussed. Now, if there's anything that you agree about or disagree, please make sure that you leave comments either on our thread in E6SA or on, below this video in the comment section. And feel free to share the content. Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.